Plumbers, delivery guys, doctors, or people in any other line of work usually portrayed in PRN. What is the closest situation you have ever been to which could lead as an opening to a PRN plot? Delivered pizza to a house in the suburbs on a Friday night. Door opens and this guy stuffs a $100 bill down my shirt. I'm female. Was 18 at the time. I stand there in shock as one of his buddies comes over to grab him and apologizes over and over. Guy was drunk and apparently thought I was a stripper. The other guys in the house are playing poker. I tried to return the money, but the buddy told me to keep it and said they'd tell him the story in the morning and make fun of him for it. Was a plumber for a long time. A few years ago on Christmas Day I had a call for a gas leak. And my partner and I arrived. The lady admitted there was no gas leak. She said she just wanted some company. So she paid the service fee for us to sit there for an hour and talk with her over coffee. Turns out she was a romance novel writer and was extremely lonely. I got some weird vibes like she wanted more from us, but nothing happened aside from the conversation. When we were leaving, she tipped $100. It was the coolest, most awkward experience of my plumbing career. Edit. I delivered pizza for a year. Every Friday night this dude ordered a chicken parm sub. And he would answer the door in just a t-shirt and underwear. Every single time. I wasn't the only delivery guy. But somehow every ducking Friday night at 9:30, I'd hear I was delivering a chicken parm. And I didn't even have to look at the address. Anyways, he had a ferret. And one time it crawled up my leg. And onto my back. And Captain Underpants says, "Oh you. She likes you." And all I could think was, this seems like the beginning to a kinky ass ponro. I'm a personal trainer. A client once took me out for lunch and then suggested we have dessert at her place because her kids were at school and her husband was away. Go on. Prepares to unzip pants. Edit. Thanks Reddit for making my second highest comment about wank in it. I used to work in a hotel. Frequently doing room service. One late night order came in for a bottle of wine and one glass. Upon delivering it, the lady tipped me generously and asked if I fancied sticking around for a bit and patted the bed next to her. If she was 10 years younger and we weren't so busy that night, I may have considered it. But she only had one glass. How are you supposed to enjoy sticking around for a bit? Selfish woman. I was working as a doctor in an A&E department. Guy comes in with testicle pain. Possible torsion. As one of 2 male doctors in the department at the time, I was sent to examine him. After a quick chat, I have to get to business and examine his balls. Thankfully for him, everything was normal. But during the exam he gets a little excited. I'm professional and just ignore it, but as part of the exam you have to look at their face to see if they are in pain. I notice the guy is actually grinning at me as he gets hard. It was literally something out of PRN. Power move. Delivered a pizza to a woman. Maybe in her early 40s. She asks my name. I say it and she responds with DCK. While staring into my eyes, asking me if that's what I said my name was. I did some real taxi driving for a while. It seems many women, young and old, watch fake taxi online and want some of the action. Delivered pizzas and the instructions were the door will be unlocked, please bring into bedroom down the hallway. I asked the manager, oh, you've never delivered to her? She is bedridden. Her caretaker must not be there. She is awesome. Don't forget plates and napkins. I was delivering pizzas. The woman invites me into her house as she gets her money. She comes back unbuttoning her shirt. She was an elderly woman who just had a radical mastectomy and she wanted to show me her scare. How scary was she? I had a super hot customer once. She just bought the house. I was doing work in the basement. I was cleaning up and getting the guys out of there. I told that I'd like to collect before I leave. She told me to come back to the bedroom when I was finished. I seriously was ready for anything. She was painting the walls. Womp womp. Used to deliver pizzas. Not my story but a coworker's. who happens to be one of the most socially awkward dudes I've worked with. Trashy lady answered the door in a swimsuit and asked how do I look, to which my co-worker responded, hungry. I am a doctor, and during my rotation in psychiatry when I was a fresh graduate, I had to take a history from a lady patient with erotomania. She was lying on the bed while I walked in her room. But halfway through the conversation she changed her posture to be something similar to Rose in the drawing scene in Titanic, asking me personal questions and intentionally showed me her cleavage. She also accidentally touched my thigh. Being a professional doctor, I continue taking history without any impure thoughts. I understand that is wrong to have any form of relationship with my patients, and I will definitely not take advantage of my patient's mental illness for my personal satisfaction. That, and also I was in old age psychiatry ward. Edit. Pizza delivery in college. Super hot late 20s lady opens the door in an extremely small towel and berated me for delivering too fast. Nobody got the tip. Delivery guy here. 3x flashed by pervy men in bathrobes saying whoops while staring into my eyes. Not my thing. Countless women that flash a little when answering the door. I assume a small percentage are exhibitionists and most are just running late. I politely avert my eyes and give them their lunch. And then there's my boo. She orders often. Always answers in a really small towel and always drops it a bit. She giggles when she drops the towel and it's really hard for me to not look. Distracts me for hours every time. I'm a plumber who does lots of maintenance in large apartment blocks throughout the city. Often the tenants aren't there during the day, so we call them, arrange a time, and pick up a set of keys to their apartment from head office. I've got a job to fix a leaky showerhead. Pretty basic stuff. I get the keys, go up to the apartment and loudly knock on the door. No answer after 10 seconds. So I slowly and loudly insert the key into the door. Alter procedure. I open the door and walk my tools in when I notice two young women completely stark nude in the kitchen. They seem as shocked as I am, and after a split second I apologize red-faced and back out. I call the number I was given on the work order and one of the women answer. Apparently they were expecting someone else and the shower is fine. I think they were expecting a guy to come in, since the bloke who works the phone for my company has a pretty attractive voice. There aren't many female plumbers like me either. I clean at a hotel, cleaning the men's public washrooms, and every time a man will walk in already unzipping, so I dart for the door, but at least once a week I'm told not to be so quick to leave. Was sweeping the hallway Friday night and a couple stood a few feet away for a minute, then stood further down the hall. About 5 minutes later the wife asks me to join them in their room, adding one for my maintenance co-worker who was servicing the pool and was asked by a hot tub full of women to join them. He said he didn't have anything to change into. I'm not sure how, but he didn't get in. I showed him this post just now and he is impressed with the likes. Lol. But he told me it wasn't the actual pool room, it was in one of our rooms with a jacuzzi in it and there were dildos visible in the room. I'm a housekeeper. Every time I ask a guest if there is anything else they may need, I brace myself for the worst. My husband when he was younger worked as a pizza delivery guy. There was always an older lady who answered the door in her see-through nightie. And there was always an older guy that answered the door in just his tighty whities with a hard-on and pour obviously playing in the background. Yucko. Pour obviously playing in the background. I too find it annoying to hear the downtrodden singing. I've shared this story before, but here goes. I used to be a princess for kids' birthday parties. I showed up to a party as Sleeping Beauty only to be greeted by a large group of guys celebrating a 30th birthday. There was immense confusion. Guy who booked it all is like, but I ordered Aurora for an hour and a half. Half of the guys start cracking up. Bro. Aurora is Sleeping Beauty. You got a princess instead of a stripper. No one can figure out how this happened. I ended up painting faces and making balloon animals until they were able to procure some actual strippers, who were all really nice and found the whole thing hilarious, and got tipped very well. All in all, not a bad party. And those guys have some hilarious pictures of a fully costumed sleeping beauty standing beside 3 half-clothed strippers. Meanwhile, a confused stripper was having a very awkward time at a kid's party. Used to do service work for a water utility. One time I had a call to this house in a nice neighborhood. An attractive woman in her early 40s answers the door and lets me in to check a leaking pipe in the basement. I give the typical how's it going and she tells me that her divorce was finalized earlier in the week. She is now single for the first time in 12 years. And this was the first husband chore that popped up around the house. The cause of the leak was the expansion connector on the water meter, which just needed to be tightened a hair. I showed her how to fix it if it ever happened again and wished her the best. As a pizza delivery guy, I was once greeted by a trailer trash lady in an open bathrobe. It was gross. I was working in an independent mechanic shop, checking out a customer's car. While laying on my creeper under her car, she asked me a question. When I turned AMD a look, she was squatting on her haunches, legs spread wide open, pantyless, with the nastiest hooch I've ever seen. Sores oozing pus, a tampon string hanging, and an uneven trim job. It was horrific. I like that you stared long enough to notice that her trim job was uneven. I used to deliver pizzas for a neighborhood joint. I pulled up to this huge house with a Mercedes parked out front. The order was a 16-inch sausage pizza. I think to myself, this is it. I'm about to be in a PRN. I ring the doorbell. A gorgeous woman in get mid-40s answers the door. I don't even have time to think. It just comes out. I have a 16-inch sausage for you. She signs the credit card slip, leaves me no tip, and then closes the door in my face. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Worked as a pizza delivery guy while going through school. Delivered to a house one afternoon with 2 girls, both 18 at most. As one goes to get the money, the other says, "We'll give you a blowjob right now if you want one." The whole thing felt like cameras were going to pop out of closets any minute. I got the money and left. Incredibly awkward. Edit. Getting some emails. I was about 20 at the time, working and going to college. Girls seemed a little young, even though there wasn't too much of an age difference. Just not my thing. I got the money and left. Okay. Cops are gone. What happened next? I was a pizza delivery driver a couple years ago. I was delivering a pizza to a girl I knew, but it was up a couple flights off stairs, so I called her and said I was outside her place in the street. She said if I deliver to her door at the top of the stairs, she would give me a blowjob. I had to scroll way too far down to find someone who went through with it. Was a pizza delivery guy. Closest I ever came was people answering their door in underwear or a robe. I worked as a security guard in a hotel and had to tell a lady to turn down music. She flashed me and giggled. Had to go back later and she was wearing a robe that was open in her underwear and no bra. She was super ducked up. Another time, my so worked as a pizza delivery driver. So I had her deliver my pizza and we had sex when she dropped it off. Edit. My first Reddit gold. Thank you. In honor of that, here's another security story. I was doing my rounds and realized that a conference door was left open and walked in on a dude eating a woman's ass. I turned on the light but they legit didn't notice. I told them they had to stop but that they could rent a room and the woman lost her shit. She didn't want a room. Duck you. This was some unbelievable bullshit. I'm an ugly duck. etc etc. The left separately. Back when I was in school to become an electrician, we had one of those work weeks where I got to work along with an electrician. One of the jobs we got was to swap out a broken switch in an apartment. We got to the site and talked to the janitor. He gave us the basic info for the job. And right before we went to the apartment, he said, "Oh, and the client sometimes answers the door only wearing her diaper." My co-worker mentor had panties instead of diapers and got very excited, while I was somewhat worried. We got to the apartment and rang the bell. Out came a small, Roundish woman. Only wearing a diaper and a t-shirt to let us in. My mentor's expectations were quickly shattered. In addition, when we were working, my mentor lowered his head almost into a bag of used diapers without realizing. Then he looked at me and asked, "Is that bag what I think it is?" Full stop. It was. I used to work at a hotel as a maintenance guy and had a call to a room with a couple when the husband said, "So, you're one of those guys they make those movies about?" His wife laughed and slapped him and said, "Don't mind him. He's a pervert." That's the closest I've ever had. When I worked for a pizza place that covered the area around the airport, which meant a lot of hotels, more than once I had someone open the door wide and only be wearing socks and not being shy at all. Not once did I have the slightest interest if I had been invited in, and a few where I would have been happy to have not gotten a tip if it meant I would not have the horror of their naked form forced into my head. When I was in nursing school I had a PT who was around my same age. Early mid-20s. Normally we only ever saw super old people. But he was incredibly attractive. I had to go in and do my assessment while leaning over him to listen to his heart and lungs. He talked to me in a soft, deep voice while I assessed him. It was literally the most sexually arousing thing I've ever done with my clothes on. My married plumber sent me his DCK pic. Well, I was the cable guy for my wife. Before we'd ever met, lol. Hooked her cable up. Came back next day and never left. Did you just see that top NSFW gif, completely naked woman opening the door to the pizza guy? Hence the creation of your question? I'm a cabinet installer. I finished a very expensive, very fancy install in personal record time to get the house into a local parade. The real estate agent was a young woman who got really excited about my work, or her significantly increased chances of getting a hefty commission. I had stayed late to dust off everything and vacuum my way out when she showed up. She thanked me about a dozen times and invited me to come work the parade with her, emphasizing drinks and how the house would be fully furnished. As a locksmith, I helped a woman get back into her apartment, and when it came time to pay she came back wearing only a bathrobe and was asking if she could earn herself a discount. As a married man I said we only do discounts for military, senior citizens, and teachers. She then paid and closed the door in a huff, leaving me standing outside her door with a hard-on and a fistful of cash. With a hard-on and a fistful of cash. I do pest control and I had to get these people to leave so I could spray their apartment. A 40-something woman and her daughter, roughly around the age of 18. The older woman leaves and I'm standing there waiting for the younger girl to leave. She informs me she needs to change her clothes, then proceeds to change in front of me in the living room while striking up casual conversation, telling me about her life and recent run-ins with the law, referring to how she had just got home from jail. I ask her how old she is and she replies about to be 18. As she pulls on a t-shirt slowly. Did I mention she was attractive? I knew what she wanted. But I'm a good boy. She left shortly after that. I was more shocked that her mom just left her there alone with some random 30-year-old dude. Back when I used to deliver milk, I was dropping off at a house on my route when a beautiful blonde opened the door in a silk robe and lingerie. She beckoned for me to follow her inside and up the stairs. It was absolutely bizarre, but I was so awestruck. I followed. She led me up to the bedroom, and when I went inside, she locked me in. As I examined the room, I found that it was filled with milkmen, some of whom were very, very old. I was there for days before making my escape and alerting the police, but they dismissed my account as being too silly. Once worked as a food delivery guy. Got to the place and the woman was topless in a G-string and stilettos. So were the other 5 or 6 women I could see. The 50 or so guys were all dressed. It was a topless bar and one of the dancers got a patron to order her some expensive sushi. I got a $10 tip. I worked for a moving service for a few months after high school. Middle-aged woman wearing a negligee offered to tip me. Young me was not impressed by her sagginess. I just left. Older me would totally have done it. I have no standards. I'm amused at all the hornballs that are mad at the faithful husbands that noped out of these situations. Moreover, the guys that speak regretfully and apologetically like refusing solicitous res revokes your man card or something. Grow the duck up. People. Lol. It's okay to weigh the risks and nope the duck out of what is likely going to make it burn when you pee the next day. I legit delivered pizza to a house party. There's a redditor who delivered a pizza to a woman who answered in an unwrapped up bathrobe or nightie. And she recorded it. And posted it on the internet. And OP posted the video in all its cringe why glory. You see him say "Hey, I'm good" when she asks if he wants to come in. I work in help desk. Night shift weekends, and had a realtor call in asking how much I worked. I answered that I worked 4x 10 hours days. But I was home 3 weekdays a week. Semicolon. She then asked if I had babies. And if I wanted babies, do you want babies? You'd be really good for babies. Comma. Granted, I don't think help desk is really portrayed in PRN. But I found it as relevant as I am going to see in one of these threads. I'm a doctor in the NHS. An old demented lady once grabbed me by my stethoscope and vomited down my scrubs. It's a glitzy life. Another one. As a single late 20s early 30s handyman kind of guy. Helped a single 45-year-old woman install a window AC unit in her bedroom. Jokingly she asked if I wanted to chill in the bed. I politely laughed and got the hell out of Dodge. A crackhead that I had to deliver food to once greeted me with "I'm not wearing any panties because I have cancer." Close enough, I guess. I once delivered some pizza to a penthouse apartment in downtown Seattle. A beautiful woman in nothing but a fluffy white bathrobe opened the door to take the pies. Then asked me to wait there for my tip. She went back inside and promptly returned with my tip. 78 cents worth of change for $45 worth of ZAR. I once had a manic patient ask me to duck her in the ER. I just blurted out "I have other patients. Sorry." And quickly excused myself. I went over to my attending to present my findings and he asked me why I thought she was having a manic episode. I just said, "Well,